Okay, if we could all just remain standing for once again, another senseless mass shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We said it the other night. It's broke. The system's broke. We need to do something different. This has got to stop. And as I said the other night, whether you're in the NRA or the PTA, you have to agree that it's wrong. There's something wrong with what's going on, and we need to address it. So a quick moment of silence. Thank you. So, welcome to the June meeting, Philipstown Town Board. Thank you for coming out. What a beautiful night. We got the windows open. And we did at 7 p.m. have a ribbon cutting for our new electric vehicle charging station, which is outside. Thanks to Krystal Ford. I think she's still out there socializing, but we will have more on Krystal later this evening. So, approval of minutes, monthly meeting of May 5th. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Special meeting, Philipstown Depot Theater, also on May 5th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Workshop meeting, May 25th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Okay, committee reports. Conservation report.
All right, Conservation Board meeting, a few items of new business. They were Davern Farm, right across from Boscobel, is seeking approval to reroute the existing brook, which has kind of overflowed its existing bank back to its original position. The Russell Wright Design Center came forward. They've had a lot of structural damage to the waterfall. That is a part of that historic design center, and so there's about a 90-foot segment of the stream that has dislodged some boulders, and they're beginning the process of trying to stabilize that area of the waterfall that flows into the quarry pool, which is really beautiful. The Glenwood Farm is applying to construct a 1,800-foot trail that leads between one of their main houses and the lake. And then I think the kind of one of the most significant points of business that the Conservation Board discussed was talking about the Chapter 175, Section 20 of the code, that is the standards for conservation subdivision. There'd been a lot of discussion about the Hudson Highland Reserve project in the Conservation Board, and really the concern that as written, the conservation subdivision as written in the code is not really projects that the Hudson Highlands Reserve is setting a precedent where that is not meeting the kind of spirit of the conservation subdivision code. I know we've all received some concerns from constituents about that, and so the Conservation Board wanted me to ask the town board if the town board would be okay with the Conservation Board organizing a workshop examining the conservation subdivision code language, some concerns with it, and any ways that it might be strengthened to better meet the spirit of that law in regards to future
The
developments.
spirit of the law is something that could be deciphered differently by different people. So I think, Steve, this is the first challenge or first application.
The first conservation subdivision application, that's right.
Since the new zoning came in 09, so, in 2010, actually. So we absolutely, we could sit down with them and discuss it. Sounds
That'd
great.
be okay?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay, great.
They can discuss it, but they can't make any modifications.
No.
While this
would be a
application
zoning
is in
change,
progress, though.
Yeah, no, I think they just wanted some sort of a forum to look at, in the wake of this first project, to take a look at that language, have a discussion about it, and see if there's, any modifications, not made by the Conservation Board, but that the town board and the zoning board would want to.
How would you feel about timing that, Steve, as far as?
Well, it shouldn't affect the Hudson, the Hudson Reserve or
Right.
Hudson Reserve application at all, as far as that goes. The Conservation Board's purview is environmental issues.
Right.
And if they want to examine the conservation subdivision law in that light and say, gee, viewed from concerns over environmental impacts, this is what we think, and we would suggest changes, like, that's fine. But the Conservation Board doesn't draft zoning. It's really not equipped to do that. So, I mean, as long as they keep their scope narrow and I don't want to be flippant about it, but I mean, if they stay in their lane, that's just fine.
All right. So we'll set something up.
I'll relay that back.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
Recreation.
Good evening. The Recreation Commission met this Tuesday, May 31st. I attended and did a demonstration of the food scrap recycling kit, which is available here at Town Hall if anyone doesn't have it. And it will be available to see in person at the rec center if you want to take a look at it there as well. They are also getting ready for summer camp. As previously reported, the summer camp is sold out but has a waiting list, so you can put your children on the waiting list if you would like to be part of it. I think the theater camp might still have openings. There is a teen night coming up this weekend, so if you have a teenager, please feel free to sign them up for teen night. There are lots of games and fun planned for the weekend. The rec center reported that they had an outstanding performance of The Lion King. So thank you to all the youth who participated and starred in the Lion King performance. It was a great success. And the next meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, June 28th. If you'd like to attend, please feel free to come to the Recreation Center for the Recreation Commission meeting.
All right, thank you, Judy.
Can I just add that both of our kids were in the Lion King at the rec center, and so I sat through three of those performances. It got better every time. I can tell you, it got better every time. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. No, it was really fun. It was great.
Sure it
yeah.
And also the cake bake at the Philipstown Depot Theater was a great success as well. So thank you to everyone who participated.
I think you're up again, Philipstown Hub.
Philipstown Hub, I'm going to introduce Dave Marzola, who is going to make an introduction. We're sorry that Danielle Pack-McCarthy's not here. As many people know, she's moving on from the Philipstown Hub. Danielle was a part-time substance abuse mental health coordinator here for the town of Philipstown, and she built the foundation for the Philipstown Hub. And Dave is going to say more about that, and she leaves a legacy behind, but we're excited about the news Dave's going to share with us this evening.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, which I think isn't anybody in here, I'm Dave Marzolo, and I'm a founding board member of the Hub and lifelong Philipstown resident. I just wanted to say a few words about Danielle first before I introduce our new executive director who we have here, Lori. I just want to say, imagine how daunting it would be to start from scratch a charity organization whose mission is to provide resources for a problem that nobody in the country has answers to. I mean, mental health and substance abuse from ocean to ocean here in America, everyone is suffering from that. So to start from scratch a charity whose goal is to take on that challenge when, it's not like a fundraiser where you got a red thermometer and if you raise $100,000 you can buy a new fire truck and that's it, you won. This is something that you fight every day, and when you win, it's anonymous, so nobody knows. And when you lose, it's on the front page. So it's such a challenging thing that Danielle took on to do, and I'm so proud of everything she accomplished. I was at the first meeting that she called to try to form the board, and from gathering the board members to organizing the board to getting federal recognition to opening a brick and mortar space, and once we opened that space, Danielle had to serve as the administrator, the sole chief executive administrator, and the care coordinator, while also having fundraising responsibilities. And then seeing that was too big of a task for any one person, she brought on a whole staff. We're now down at the Hub, we have 4 people, from the executive director to a part-time development coordinator whose job it is to fundraise, and we have 2 employees whose sole job is care coordination. And that's really what it's all about at the Hub, is it's not about the fundraising or the organization, it's about the care coordination. And I just want to thank Danielle for her compassion, and for her tireless effort for what she built at the hub. And I think, I'm glad to know that that exists while my kids are growing up here in town. And I just think every one of us, from those suffering from abuse and mental health issues to those who are not, we all know someone who is. So everyone in this community, I think, owes Danielle a huge debt of gratitude. So I wanted to, on behalf of the town and the board and everyone, make that clear.
I have just get to add on to
Go ahead, jump in, John.
Well, Danielle is a personal friend of mine.
Of course.
And I've known her from this whole process. We do have to mention Nancy Montgomery, because when this all began, I can remember sitting here, and Nancy was on the board here, and it was an idea. We were all like, this is never going to fly. And between Danielle and Nancy, and then it just, the steam.
And Richard and you.
Well, it all started, but it just started the traction, and it was amazing. And Philipstown's been hit harder than a lot of communities with substance abuse, and we have to look at that. And Danielle has played such a vital part for so many people, and like you said, it's so anonymous. Nobody knows what's going on. She's put in full-time hours, and at the start, it was not even part-time pay. It was next to nothing. And Danielle, when we selected Danielle, it's like, this is covered. I knew her. I said, forget it. She's gonna, she'll be there probably 12 hours a day. But she has done an amazing job, and she is going to be sorely missed. And I hope we have a worthy candidate. And I'm sure the work that you've done, we have somebody that's going to pick up the slack and keep it going.
Well, thank you, John. I will add, like, when they say blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah.
I mean, that was Danielle, literally
yeah.
blood and sweat
Yeah.
and tears.
Yeah.
She gave everything she had.
She did.
And it's amazing to see someone last so long. You also think about when you're in the community that you're serving, and then, you're involved in these families and their tragedies, and you go to Food Town and you see them there, and you
Yep.
go to the bank and you see them there. I know that weighed always heavily on her heart. So
Yep.
I think, her intention was always to build it and not to run it forever.
Right.
And she did that. She built something that I believe, my mom was a founder of the Haldane School Foundation, and she's been going now for years.
Right.
And the principals that were there when they started that, and the students, everyone's gone.
Right.
But that Haldane School Foundation is strong still, and the work it does
Right.
it is strong. It thrives, and those people started from those early meetings, I think 30 years ago, and I see that future for the hub. The work
hope.
that she began, I think 30, 50, 100 years from now, hopefully will still be
I hope
carried
at
on.
some point we don't need the hub. That would be the best bet, but we're gonna, and it's there. But
Well, hopefully we'll need it as few days as possible, but when we do need it, we're going to be there.
thank you so much.
All right, so now, it gives me great pleasure. Thanks, Meg.
Dun-dun-dun, we need a drum.
Always got Megan to laugh at me. I had to take notes here because I met with Lori and we spoke at length. She's such a tremendous candidate. We're so lucky to have her. I couldn't memorize everything that I had to say about her because she's so incredible. So I just wrote a few things down just so I can tell you about who we're bringing on as our new executive director. So Lori Sigalos has 30 years in behavioral health, emergency management, and trauma training. She has an undergrad in behavioral science, a graduate degree in forensic science, and post-grad certificate as a trauma specialist. She's worked in the private sector, in corporate, and in nonprofit in behavioral science for 30 years. Lori specializes in trauma treatment and crisis intervention with experience in trauma related to substance abuse, sexual assault, domestic abuse, homicide, suicide, human trafficking, and natural disaster. Her experience is with treatment of people who have experienced significant trauma and loss. Some of Lori, I know she wasn't going to come up here and brag, so I had to come and brag for her. She was invited to Ground Zero after 9/11 in support of law enforcement and crisis management. She was there at Sandy Hook working with the first responders for psychological services directly with the families of that lost their children in the Sandy Hook tragic shooting. She worked with the FBI on human trafficking cases, and she has been there working in crisis mediation and disaster recovery with FEMA and local law enforcement during Hurricanes Laura, Hurricane Francis, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Sandy, and many other natural disasters. Lori is an incredible candidate. And you're probably wondering the same thing I was wondering when I wanted to ask her, what made you choose us here in Philipstown with so much experience and you know, just being so qualified? I was so proud of the hub for being able to attract Lori. And so I just want to introduce her and have her come up and have her tell you why she chose the hub real quick and why she chose Philipstown. So let's hear for the new executive director, Lori Sigalos.
It wasn't a little scary. Sorry.
Well, welcome, first of all,
Thank
welcome.
you,
Relax,
thank
and
you.
we're fine.
It's my pleasure to be here, and it's my honor to take over the very bright flaming torch that Danielle helped to create for the community. What attracted the hub to me? After spending so many years in the corporate sector and seeing basically every possible atrocity that one person could do to another, I wanted to go back to where I started, at grassroots. It was an interesting ad that I saw. I said, this looks kind of interesting. I want to take a look at this. I was a little unsure, a little uncertain, like it's kind of tiny. Why? So when I went, the second that I opened up the door to walk in for the interview, I saw bright, happy faces, smiling. The space was just incredibly spectacular. It's beautiful, it's open, it's warm, and it's welcoming. And I said, okay, I'm starting to get really interested here. Every single person I spoke with, it was very apparent and very clear to me that not only did they personally have an investment in working within the community, but it went beyond a couple of people sitting in an office a day, and it extended into the community as a whole. With everything that's gone on in this world in the past years, the way that people have separated, the way that people have isolated, the way that some folks just stopped caring and didn't bother to ask, are you okay? Is there something that we can do for you? It was overwhelming to me to see such an aspect of concern and care about what happens to the people in your neighborhood. The fact that there are so many fundraisers and such an investment and such interaction was astonishing to me. So when I had the honor of receiving the offer, it was really a no-brainer for me, because even though it's not at the same sort of scale of what I was doing, what I appreciated was to be able to go full circle and coming back, so to speak, many years later, taking a look at those community grassroots organizations and now coming back with so much experience and expertise and thinking. The hub and the community is looking for more, for sustainability, for longevity. How can we help more people? How can we do more things? That's what really clinched it for me. And the fact that the town is absolutely beautiful as well. And it's a beautiful commute driving along 7 lakes. I'm extremely grateful. I'm extremely excited. And I hope to get the chance to know each of you. You are all always welcome. Please come whenever you want. Please don't be offended if I haven't called you already. I'm still getting my sea legs, so to speak. And I look forward to serving the community and carrying on the legacy that Danielle's leaving behind. So thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Planning Board.
Planning board. We had, as everyone knows, the last few years, we have always had a full agenda and been going many hours, but I'll keep my report very short. Attended the planning board meeting May 19th. The only new item on the agenda was Luke Kingsley Landscaping, Old Normandy Post Road. They're looking to build a 3,200 square foot building, 80 by 40. They're going to use this as a 2-story building. It's going to be, bottom's going to be the garage for the landscaping business and tree business that they have. And the upper floors is going to be 2 bedroom apartments. The planning board classified this as a major project. They also listed as an unlisted action under seeker. And they're going to do a site survey on June 5th, which is this coming Sunday at 9:30. They also referred it to the Board of Health and the North Highlands Fire Company. So this is the first time they've been in front of the planning board. And next thing on the agenda, the old business was Potter and Plot, 201 Moog Road. They've been before the planning board a couple years ago. They came back about 2 months ago to make some adjustments, and the planning board approved their application. Hudson Highland Reserve, they were informed the planning board again, as they had been for the last 5-6 years. They did provide their FEIS is now completed. The planning board got that a few weeks before, but they had some major changes to it only the day before, so the planning board really didn't have an opportunity to read all those documents a couple hours before they got before the meeting. So unfortunately, that's the way things go. But anyway, there was a lot of discussion between the planning board and the applicant and the applicant's like lawyers and so forth like that. So a lot of discussion going on there. They'll be back before the planning board next month as well. Last on the agenda was the Garrison Golf Course and the Shakespeare's Festival. As you know, that's been in the planning board for almost a year now. We went through, we had, as you know, the last several months, we had over 9 hours of public hearing. The public hearing was closed back in March 17th of the last public hearing. The planning board and many people had a lot of concerns, and as a result of that, I think I stated this last month as well, the Shakespeare's Festival made some concessions to their application. They withdrew the indoor theater. They also withdrew the 20-room hotel they were going to add to us. And they also are changing the area of the parking lot, so it's out of the wetland zone completely. Concerns that the planning board wanted to be addressed was, number one, the water. They're planning on building a new bridge from the property out to Snake Hill Road. Noise, how much noise is going to be concerned. Lighting, and the tent. The biggest public concern that we heard from most people at the public hearing was the location of the tent. But that, right now, that's going to stay where it is for the time being, in parking. All these were addressed by the applicant and their team as well. The owner there, Mr. Davis, got up and spoke himself, and he was, you know, people, he was saying that the tent is there for a reason. That's a special place for that tent, and it's got the best view of the Hudson and so forth like that. So he's tending to say that that's where the tent, that's where they want it, and right now that's where it's going to be. But they still have a long ways to go before they get any type of approvals. I know we gave them a temporary permit for this year, just for 1 year. They asked for a 2-year. We just gave them for 1. Planning board was adjourned at 10:30. Next meeting would be June 16th, 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Zoning.
Hi, how's everybody? I'm sorry. You want me to grab the mic?
Well, just put it closer.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So for old business with the zoning, a applicant is seeking a variance to build a 1,500 square foot structure with a garage. That happened back in April, and the variance was approved. The new business that took place on May 9th is on 32 Hudson Way. The applicant is seeking a variance to install a freestanding ground solar system within 14 feet of the property line, where 30 feet is required. So they did not appear, and they may not need a variance. So they will be coming back at our next meeting, hopefully on June 13th. Another individual at 16 Black Diamond Hill Road in Garrison, New York. The applicant is seeking a special permit to structure a 987 square foot accessory structure with an apartment. And again, the next public hearing is for, I think it's next Monday, the 13th. I think it's like in 2 weeks. And other than that, that's it. That's all we have for zoning.
Okay, thank you, Meg. Highway.
Highway. Submitted by Adam Hoteling, Highway Superintendent. Work performed for the town of Philipstown for the month of May. Crews are out busy filling potholes and beginning to grade the roads as warm weather has approached. Our crews will be out daily making the roads in good shape and safe. Crews also started mowing the summer season. Residents can do their part by trimming their hedges and brushes along their property lines, and also removing some dead trees or so that may be in the way, and also could possibly fall on telephone lines and electrical lines. So if anyone would like to do that, we appreciate that. Raking the leaves and debris onto the town road is against the law and ultimately becomes a safety hazard, so please do not do that. Prep work on paving the Manitou Station Road. Several years ago, we started this project at Manitou Station Road. It was always, as the tide came up, the road was too low. We raised it quite a few feet already. So we're in the last phases of this project right now. They're raising it another 4 or 5 inches, and then they're going to blacktop the whole road from the river all the way up to Route 9D. So that's in preparation for that. And you'll see, I was down there yesterday, and they're doing a lot of work up there. A resolution to pass a new Kubota excavator. We passed that last month, and it's on order, and most likely will be here later in the year. The town board was in touch with the highway department about the food scrap program we just initiated. I'm sure Jason will give us a little quick update on it as well. But anyway, we had to make some area up in our recycling center for the food scraps area. So the highway department took that area, expanded it a little bit, made it cleaner, nicer, and put a sign up, and also put some gravel down so it's easier to access. So thank you for them doing that. The highway department received approximately 25 phone calls and emails regarding roll complaints for the month of May. Highway has spent about $35,200 on vehicle maintenance and repairs and parts. End the report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Next up is building and land acquisition. We have some updates on the highway, the new highway facility. The slab is poured, the steel is supposed to be coming next week, and it will start going up. There was a little bit of a concern, there's a mistake actually with the connection with the existing septic system and the septic line coming out of the building. So it's before the 2 engineers, as well as the project manager, the Palumbo Group, and Justin. So there will be a solution, and it's going to cost some money, and it's not going to cost the town of Philipstown any money. We've hired 2 engineers to engineer this system. They knew full well that we were going to use the existing septic system, and the line came out lower than the existing septic, so it doesn't work that way. So there will be a repair. There's going to be a change. They're working on some solutions now. But I just don't feel that the town of Philipstown should be on the hook for this, so we'll be working that out with the 2 firms. So that's all I have. Bobby, anything you can think
Well,
of?
just, you want to say you got the grant, how many you got?
Oh, yes, the grant, the famous grant for the building. We had it, we lost it. I was contacted by Congressman Maloney's office the other day and said, we have it again. The USDA Rural Development has removed the maximum per capita income requirement, which released $1 billion nationwide. There were several hundred communities that were in the same boat as us. I'm not getting too excited until we have a check, but apparently it's a guarantee. Ernest from Congressman Maloney's office called me and said, John, it's 100% guaranteed at this point. So, like I said, when I see a check, I'll be happy. So, it's $1.78 million. So, it's a big difference for us. So, it'll go a long way. But yes,
One other thing, right now, it's scheduled to finish this project at the end of September is the date. So hopefully if we can stay to that, that'd be good, because it would be nice, definitely nice to be in there before the cold weather hits. Because we also, too, after that fact, we got to take time to get everything out of the rented garages that we have and get it up there. So,
their new
yeah.
place.
So hopefully, if the schedule stays as is, it should be done by the end of September.
Hopefully. Okay, Cemetery Committee.
Okay, so, the Cemetery Committee, I want to first thank the Girl Scout Troop 1091. They assisted the Cemetery Committee on putting in all the flags for Memorial Day over here at the Mountain Avenue Cemetery, and the one that runs Cedar Street. Thank you, John. So thank you very much, girls. I also walked the Mountain Avenue Cemetery with Tagger, and he's done an amazing job on repairing those headstones. He also then did send me an invoice for the next cycle of material that he'll need for the next cemeteries, which is $5,909.98, which obviously we'll review. And him and I spoke, and we're actually going to start to tackle that cemetery that is on the corner of Route 9 and 301, which is back. There's a lot of history there, and he is ready to unveil that. So we're going to be working on that and just trying to get that going. It's a interesting spot.
I
So to
had a
speak.
resident question us at the Memorial Day Parade about the treatment that's going on the stones and what type of treatment, because there's chemical versus water, and
No, he's actually using, so I have it here, and forgive me if I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's all right.
But he does talk about when we are going over the treatment, it's a water-based treatment. He's not putting in any type of a chemical to repair the stones. He's using this type of water-based glue. At the moment, he's injured, so he'll get back to it shortly, but I said, just don't do anything by yourself. But overall, the cemetery committee, then we're going to meet on June 23rd. The ladies and some of the gentlemen really want to get together, and then we can start ironing out some of the projects that are up on off of Horton Road, and then again the cemetery on 301 and Route 9 to really get that project underway. So, and thanks again, Girl Scouts, for all the flags.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, Putnam County Legislator, I know Nancy was unavailable this evening, so we'll move on to the agenda. That's you, Kel. You need a microphone.
I'll share my microphone.
Thank you so much. First is a discussion with Neal Zuckerman and Heidi Wendel and the members of the Planning Board regarding traffic development on Route 9.
We have to manage, Dennis is here, so we can. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming out. And thank you for all the work that you guys have been really slammed lately, so I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Appreciate that. It is an effort, but it's worthwhile. I must say, though, it feels less worthwhile these days when your opening remarks, John, are touching and painful. And talking about road safety feels very minor when compared to gun safety and what is affecting this country, which is makes one wonder what can we do with government, right? I'm a Democrat because I generally think that Democrats know how to make government work, and we need to figure this one out. And if not the national, then by God, the local level. So anyway, that's not why I'm here to talk. Let me just describe what the topic is first, which is the Planning Board has discussed over the last several years, particularly since COVID, with an explosion of applications as many developers and individuals have wanted to do building in our community. We've had a growing observation that Route 9 has become a heavily trafficked road, far more than we had anticipated, far more than I think our own code would have predicted. And at our March 2021 board meeting, we agreed by consent of the board, not a vote, but a consent of the group, that we would come before as individuals, but as members of the planning board, to share some of our observations. Ultimately, we're coming to you, and obviously your legal counsel is my legal counsel, and he was present at that March meeting and gave us even if not the direct advice, at least the support to have this conversation. And so where we stand is the following. We've had, I think, up to 8 applications in the last 2.5, 3 years that have major access, ingress, egress to Route 9. I won't mention any of the ones that are ongoing, including the ones mentioned earlier in Bob's report and in Jason's report, but I will mention a few. One is Magazzino, both its first phase and its second phase. An entity called CRS, which hasn't started yet, but I think Heidi joined the board right as that application was being approved. That was just south of 301 on the west side of the road across from the mobile home area. We have Riverview Industries, the truck parking on both east and west of Route 9, I guess that's just south of Perks Plaza. We have now 3622 Route 9, which is a new commercial facility where you'll see, we used to remember the pool business, And just recently completed is the Frazenda property that is now a landscaping business. I believe all those are done. I won't mention any of the ones that are ongoing right now, but these are all ones that have either major commercial activity, large semi-trailers, large volume of traffic. And here's why we're standing here. It's a state road. We don't control it. Every time the public comes and says, I can't get out of my driveway, it's too hard, traffic's very fast, we know the nature of Route 9 in our area. It's mostly a one lane in each direction road. The trick is our state DOT treats Route 9 relatively homogeneously. It effectively believes, I shouldn't say believes, the state guidelines are that Route 9 can handle virtually any volume of incremental traffic. So no one project itself affects Route 9's ability to accept this traffic. It doesn't matter if it's a van, a private little car, to a 53-foot truck. It can handle all things. As long as the design in and out, sight line, guidelines, et cetera, exist, any volume exists. Our council, your council, gave us some thinking on this. One of the comments you'll see in the notes of the March meeting was that we as a planning board are limited by each individual project. We have to evaluate each one independently. There are cumulative effects that occur, but each project is individually evaluated on its own merits, and to harm one project, one property owner because, hey, we don't feel it's the time, it's too much at this point, we don't have that authority, and frankly, I don't think that's even fair. So where we sit at this point is a bit of a paradox. We, the planning board, are your instruments to execute policy. That policy, and Jason was discussing earlier, another part of the zoning code, which we went through enormous effort in this community to revise, may have some areas where it needs some thinking. And even if it's not the zoning code, there may need some opportunities to think about it, because only we can do policy. We're your execution arm. You are policy, we're your execution arm. Your job, therefore, is to say, do you see a similar situation on Route 9? If you do, is there an action we can take? If we can't take it independently, can there be something done with state DOT? But I will tell you that from my observations on the board, we wrestle constantly with these twin parallel issues. We wrestle with property rights and community rights, and we are constantly balancing the two. And I'm telling you, from now 8 projects in the last couple of years that are directly tied to Route 9, it is a tough balance. I want to balance, we individually want to balance on this board, property rights and community rights. That's what you do too. But at some point, the Route 9 situation, I think, will lead us to want to think how we go forward. So that's the general, without being specific about any one project or any one move you could make, we are wondering, is this the moment? Now, you may have questions, or maybe I'll let Heidi and Dennis speak, but go ahead, sir.
First of all, I appreciate your approach to this, that, first of all, you all approved it, discussed it at a planning board meeting, authorized you and or whoever to come and speak. I mean, just the process alone is to be applauded, and that's the best part of the whole thing. As far as, I mean, and I'm looking at it, not being a planning board member, but from our end, and I think you hit it perfectly, that your job is to uphold the planning, the code for the town of Philipstown. And that's, like you said, the approach, the site, and you're doing the job well. Looking at it in a bigger picture is, to me, it's really about, is it local traffic versus commuter traffic? And I think, I mean, if you look at the whole picture, you have 6 or 8 lanes in Fishkill.
Yes.
We have 4 lanes, at least, in Westchester. And then the only 2-lane section that I really know of left at Route 9 is through Philipstown. And I don't think that was by accident, and I think it's held up for a long time. So, I mean, I don't know where we would lie with any ability to regulate other than what we have as far as access and approach. But as far as limiting traffic on Route 9, I don't think we as a community or as a town board can stop it, because again, if we say, okay, we're not allowing any more development on Route 9 because we don't want to see any more traffic, does that correct the overall problem of the commuters from Dutchess County going to Westchester and vice versa, morning and night? So I mean, it's certainly worth looking at. I mean, we've seen the volume with this traffic light on Route 9 and what we're going through currently with controlling speed and controlling the volume. There's a lot of cars on Route 9. Even with all the advertising, stay off of 9, take the Taconic, take 9D. I mean, you'll see 9D I won't even bike on 9D right now because the amount of traffic. Everything's off of 9 is now on 9D and or the Taconic. But the volume that's being bottlenecked at that spot right now, it's incredible. But again, I don't see it being a lot of local traffic. It's a lot of commuters. I mean, it's...
Look, John, there's a lot of inputs, right? There's no question that north-southbound traffic is things we have very little control over. Yeah. I think I don't want to speak about specific moves one could do. Right. I think but there are things that are feasible, whether on our own volition or through partnership with state DOT. We've done those things. Yeah. I think the Perks Plaza light is a great example of a control measure.
Yeah, that was a lot of years of work, and I'm 5 years with the Transportation Safety Board and then some. The speed concerns me. I mean, as a volunteer on North Highlands, where we cover a large section, Bobby, the speed we now have cars, we've gotten several complaints. It's actually, the last one was today, and we're addressing it. So this traffic light on 9 is rerouting. Some people are taking Old Albany Post Road. So now, I was behind 2 people last night at Route 9 speed. We got to there. They went into Old Albany Post at 50 miles an hour. So now the Sheriff's Department today is putting and it shouldn't be the Sheriff's Department. I called DOT. I spoke with the regional director. And I said, well, we're going to put speed bumps or we're going to close the road and put barricades, one or the other. He said, well, that would really be this, and the speed bumps are against the law. And I said, well, then tell me what's the answer. I said, because we have people that live on that road and cars are going through, and you've created this, not us. We didn't create. So he had, suggested the speed cameras and, this is your speed and that's what's going up there. Now we're going to get complaints about the light from the, from the speed thing. And so that'll be the next, but I don't know what the answer is. Stephen, I don't know. You may have some advice as to what we can regulate and what we can't regulate.
Well, John, it's a very complex problem, actually. At its most basic, the state controls the road, and of course, even the state doesn't have control over the traffic that goes on the road, especially in towns other than Philipstown. Right. What you can control is the ingress and egress of vehicles on 9 and that traffic flow within the town of Philipstown. Right. Now, that itself presents a different problem, a complex problem altogether in and of itself, because 9 is a commercial corridor. It's one of the major commercial corridors in this area. Your comprehensive plan and your zoning both call for and allow commercial development on 9, which, as Neal alluded to, is resulting in a lot of truck traffic and a lot of heavy volume being generated by the various properties along it. Now, ordinarily, if you were unhappy with that situation, you would look to change the zoning along 9 to allow uses that generate smaller vehicles and less volume of vehicles. Again, that's not going to be an easy thing to do because your comp plan and your zoning currently allow that exact type of development. So it might be worth your while, I mean, if you're really interested in doing what you can on this, to have a planner come in and examine your zoning and give you some idea as to whether a change in zoning would be appropriate to address this issue. A planner can give you a big chunk of that. They can't give you all of it because you need a traffic engineer's input to tell you, given the undeveloped properties along 9 or the ones that are subject to redevelopment, what kind of impact it would have. Maybe it would be a lot, maybe it would be a little. It's not going to be a cheap thing, an inexpensive thing to undertake.
And again, it doesn't address the commuter traffic again.
The commuter traffic, there's nothing you can do about. 9 is 9, and, I mean, people are afraid that the state might expand it to 4 lanes in either
and that was
direction.
something I was fearful of, and I got a call today, as a matter of fact. Are they making that bridge wider? Is that why it's closed? And I'm sure the intent is there at some point. I mean, since I was a kid, I can remember them saying, it's going to be 4 lanes. It's going to look north and south. It's going to... And I'm just concerned that the more we stir the pot, that's going to create that. I mean, if we go, hey, the volume's too great, well, we'll make it 4 lanes and it'll be much easier. So
certainly that's a concern, but I mean, you have I won't say a problem, but you have an issue now, as the planning board's pointing out to you. And, as the elected officials, you have to decide, well, is this something that we want to move on, study, or is it something we want to leave alone because we're concerned that, the state might expand 9? These are policy decisions that you have to make. But I can tell you that a planning study could give you a better idea of where you stand as far as if changing the zoning would ameliorate the problem.
We'll open up to the board, but maybe contacting Joel Russell that did the original zoning and planning. Is he still?
Oh, I believe Joel's still around here.
He's still active. He's still around. Yeah, all of the work that we did in changing the zoning in 2009, 2010, and we were told by everybody, this thing is going to be a catastrophe, and really, it hasn't. It's worked amazingly well, I can reach out to him and see, just pick his brain a little bit and find out if that's a good thought and head that way. Would that? Yes, sir.
I want to just give, if Heidi and or Dennis an opportunity to speak, if you'd like to.
Sure.
Why don't you just take it?
No, thank you. So I've only been on the planning board for 2 years, and I was cautioned also to say that these are my own personal remarks. I'm not speaking on behalf of the planning board. Our council, gave us that guidance that just speaking on behalf of myself. And one of the first projects that came up since I've been on the planning board is the CRS project, which I incidentally voted against as one of only a few planning board members that voted against that project. And that is because there was testimony, which is all public, in conjunction with that project, that people were literally scared for their lives to come out at that spot onto 9. People who lived in the mobile home park right nearby had to wait significant time periods to come out onto the road and were frightened. And the truck traffic was scaring them, and they felt that it was very dangerous for them to come out of their own homes onto that stretch of the highway. And I have looked into, as project after project came up that involved truck traffic, I have been looking into the number of accidents along 9 in our stretch of town. And everybody is aware that there was recently a bicyclist run down in Philipstown. It is a very dangerous piece of highway. I think we all know that, but also, our personal knowledge of that may not be testimony that we could, or evidence that we can necessarily use in proceedings before the planning board, but we also have received actual testimony of people saying that they are scared to go on to 9. That seems to me very, very pertinent to what should happen with this stretch of highway. We all know that everyone speeds. I don't think that we should feel powerless as a town to do anything about this. I really appreciate your comments, John, because I'm so grateful to hear that you reached out to DOT. It seems to me that we should not be powerless with respect to DOT. We should be able to do something. I'm hoping. This is a pretty impressive town.
Several years back, when it was 2011, it was when I first got on the board, we tried to petition them to lower the speed limit through the North Highlands hamlet there, and we attempted 9D through Garrison. Completely rejected. They said, this is a New York State highway. We slow the traffic down. There's increased noise. There's increased pollution. And same thing with the divider, the rumble strip. It's like, hey, why didn't we get it in Philipstown? Because it's too much noise and we'll get millions of complaints. And that was the reasoning. And there was it was no. That was it. The end of story.
Okay, so maybe what we need to do is really have a really hard think as a town, maybe based on what Steve's saying, have a planner look at it, but also try to make a little noise about it as a town and say, that's not okay with us. We can't just be victim to DOT doing whatever they want.
I'm cautious of the solution being
I understand.
a 4-lane highway, and I don't think we want to see that either.
We certainly don't, but why should we also just have to subject ourselves to that necessarily?
I'm not suggesting that.
No,
I
think it's
fantastic that we're having
we
this
have to be
discussion.
smart about it, but I'm just saying, I think it would be unfortunate if we just have to lay low and be quiet because we're afraid. I think that's not good. Yeah, I mean, I get it,
There's no fear.
well, I'm just,
That I can tell
I
you.
don't think we should not do anything because we're afraid that they may subject us to a 4-lane highway. I mean, I really appreciate you reaching out to them. I
We
mean,
could get our state legislators involved. I mean, I know there's elections underway now, but
that
I
would be
mean,
excellent.
it's timely because they have a responsibility to
Yes.
represent our town's interest
Right,
in Albany
right.
with DOT.
Well,
You
and
shouldn't
again,
be
I'm
alone.
just afraid of the solution being something that we don't want,
I
but
don't think we should operate from fear, though. That's my hope, that we don't do so. That we try to, maybe we can all get together and really try to insist that we not be subjected to a 4-lane highway, but at the same time, we get to control our own situation, control the speed limit, you know.
Well, the speed limit's not 55 like most places on Route 9.
it is 45,
It's
right?
on
We
45.
tried to get it lowered, I believe, to 40 or 35 through the area by Perks Plaza, just because of, Little League Field is there across the street, and people were walking across, and listen, I've seen accidents there for 40 years, it's been hellacious. That stretch of 9, and it's, North Highlands, Garrison, and it's the worst of the worst. We need a divider, that's 4-lane with a divider, that's been discussed to prevent the head-on collisions, but I don't know if we want that. That's gonna change the entire community, the whole appearance, the nature of the community would be different with a 4-lane highway. Not to mention, the property owners along 9 would lose, you're gonna lose property.
Just personally, I would just like us to try to do whatever we can to control this situation, because, I mean, really, I certainly had experienced the speeding along 9, but then once I joined the planning board, I literally heard people who live along 9 say they are very, very scared to leave their driveways and go on to 9. And then, of course, there's so many accidents. And we all know it's really dangerous.
I would just like to ask a question, because I'm a relatively new board member, still learning, the tools of local government. And so it sounds like from Neal's, your remarks, Neal, that one of the limiting factors is that as a planning board, you have to consider projects on an individual basis. And you can't consider them in relation to other projects at the same time. And to me, that sounds like it's at the heart of the issue, because, you need to be able to think about a number of projects and how they contribute to the traffic issue locally. And so I guess my question would be, are there any local tools, and maybe this is part of asking a planner, that allow some entity at the local level to consider projects in relation to each other as opposed to an individual basis?
Well, I'll defer to
Steve.
Secret review, which is what the planning board does. I
Right.
think Neal alluded to that earlier, as a matter of fact. But aside from other ongoing projects that are nearby, you have to approve site plan. I don't think we have too many special permits. Sometimes there's a subdivision involved, but usually it's site plan. Based on the traffic impacts of that particular property. So if they can show that they have suitable site distances in either direction, even if they have a large volume of traffic, the planning board's hands are pretty much tied. The zoning code allows that use, and once they get past secret review and you take a look, and all right, they've mitigated, secret doesn't say that you have to have no impacts, it says that you must mitigate the impacts that are likely to occur to the maximum extent practicable, not possible, just practicable. So the planning board looks at that and they say, well, gee, you gotta have your ingress over here, and you gotta move that over there, and they do the best they can with it. But they can't say, we're not going to approve your project because we feel that overall on Route 9 or this stretch of Route 9, there's too heavy of traffic volumes. They can't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Jason,
and
I think
almost
about,
feel that that's, I don't want to say penalizing property owners here for commuters. I mean, you're basically saying, we need to save that room for the commuters that are coming from Dutchess County. I have a problem with that. I mean, that doesn't sit right with me, that the people here that have owned property, paying taxes on Route 9, have the right to develop and/or, the possibility to develop with the planning board's approval. They shouldn't be penalized because there's commuters utilizing Route 9. I mean, I don't
John,
see
this is the complexity of the problem and why the balancing act is so difficult. Jason, to answer your question in some part, if you imagine the highway and all the properties, let's just assume for argument's sake, everything is a commercial property. And just for kicks, every stretch of the highway has a property on it, except one piece left. So what is the choice about whether that last piece should be built on? Where's the marginal point where you say, oh, that's too much? I don't know. And there is no mechanism in the code to say, okay, we've hit maximum capacity. And so I don't know when it is. I do know, like, at some point we'll know it only in retrospect. Sort of like with Florida being underwater. At some point, the last owner of a condo will be the one who got in too late. So I just don't know when that point is. And so I think what we're raising is the complexity and the balance of traffic and accessibility, of fear versus property ownership, of the right to do something versus the right of the community. I don't know if we're there yet. I certainly endorse Steve's solution, because putting in the hands of someone objective to me is always an attractive solution, because I don't know that point, and I certainly don't know the levers to pull. But if we thought it would be worthwhile to get some facts, and again, I'll let you decide. You are the policy-making group. If you felt like it was time to decide something, I think a planner is a good path. If you feel like it's not ripe yet, I leave it in your hands to make that call.
Well, I certainly think it's worthwhile contacting the planner and getting an opinion, just an overall spectrum of to where we can go, what we can do. And then I will reach out to DOT again. He's very receptive, the director. Maybe, I don't know if the Taconic can handle any more traffic, but I think a lot of the commuter traffic now has deferred to the Taconic because of this red light situation. So, maybe it's, promoting the Taconic Parkway more to encourage people to use that rather than Route 9. I don't know, 9D certainly isn't the answer, because that's just going to shift it from one part of town to the other. And I think 9 is better designed for traffic than 9D certainly is. So I know the village residents would agree with that too. So, but I'll reach out to them and we'll go from there. Anybody else?
I don't want to see 4 lanes.
I think, John, during the rezoning process, I think the setback used to be 100 feet from the setback. They moved that to 35, right? Then the reason they moved it to 35 is to try to prevent a 4-lane highway from coming to the town of Philipstown.
Well, you can try.
Well, I'm just saying, it helps, right? So that was one thing that they did do many years ago, to do that, to try to prevent a 4. I don't think anyone that lives in Philipstown wants to see a 4-lane highway on Route 9. There's sections on Route 9, luckily you have, passing lanes now in certain sections. But, Route 9's a tough road. It's one of the most traffic in New York State. It's got probably one of the most traffic, commercial traffic on it, unfortunately. But
Yeah, it's the only north-south route basically for commercial traffic.
What do we got, 11 miles, 12 miles of Route 9 in Philipstown?
I just want to say, Neil, I think I am for bringing in that planner. I think it's a great idea for them to actually, if they can just look at it, right, and come from a point of view where they could see what is happening and how we can improve it. It's not anything harder than that. What's happening? How can we improve it for the community and for the people who live along Route 9, growing up in the Highlands, coming out from East Mountain Road South without the light there as a young driver was frightening. So I completely understand. And
us too, man.
I did frighten a lot of people. Everybody was off the road at that point, let me tell you. But I have to say, I do agree with just bringing in somebody that can look at the stretch of Route 9 and come in and give us their point of view and see how we can then improve improve the highway. So I'm for that.
Come on up. Yep.
I do have one comment regarding a possible, not a solution, but to help the matter. If we could contact with the state police, the sheriff's office regarding enforcement of the speed limits. You mentioned about a camera being placed. You mentioned about East Mountain Road South. I live on that road. Bobby comes off that road. Yeah, there we
John
go.
goes off that road.
When my kids were learning to drive, I would tell them, as you're pulling out on Route 9, and you're going to be going north, and you're looking south to see if traffic's coming so you can get onto Route 9 going north also look north. I can't tell you how many times, double yellow line or not, people are passing. And probably a half a dozen times since I've been up there, there have been those incidents, to me personally, where all of a sudden there is somebody passing a slower moving vehicle, not necessarily a slow moving vehicle, but a slower moving vehicle. Exactly. And it was terrifying as my kids were learning how to drive to make sure that, you know, they were aware of that. So
I use that on my 16-year-old.
do that, please. And same thing if you're going on the coming down south on 9, making the left onto, especially the North Road.
There's a
People,
break in that
yeah,
yellow line,
people,
and people
they're zooming by on your right-hand side, and you're praying that they know you're stopped ready to make a left-hand turn, so. But,
There's been several,
oh,
it's endless.
yeah,
endless, you know,
I
okay.
I just wanted to make that, but thank you very much for.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
thanks for coming in
Thank you.
and giving you.
Unless you have any further, I just want to thank you guys for this. Is a proof that government works. You know, we can put something on the agenda, have a conversation about something important, and we're all volunteers, but we care greatly as you do all. So thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thank you all.
All right, Kel, we just got
Keep going, Kelly.
our deputy clerk is covering, Kelly McIntyre's covering for Tara, who was unavailable tonight. Thank you all.
Take care, thank you.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the contract with Philipstown Volunteer Ambulance Corp and Garrison Volunteer Ambulance Corp, and this is a roll call vote.
Okay, so this is long overdue. We've been back and forth, how many times now, Steve, with the Garrison?
1 year, then it was 3 years, now it's 5.
So we are extending the Garrison and Philipstown Ambulance Corps contracts from a 1-year contract to a 5-year contract, and it's not the funding section of it, it's just their operational requirements. Am I stating that properly?
Yes.
Okay. So they will come each year to present a budget. That will be done every year, but the contract end of it, things are working well with both organizations, so I'm happy to endorse this. There is one holdup with the Philipstown one. We don't have their fee schedule. So what our council has suggested we do is,
Adopt the resolution on condition that a fee schedule acceptable to the town board be submitted by the Philipstown Volunteer Ambulance Corp. So
Okay.
you can approve the resolution with that condition.
perfect, like Steve just said. So I did speak with Chris Tobin. He said they did send it in at some point, but he will send it to Tara tomorrow. So it is complete. It's not like they don't have it. It's just a matter of it crossed in the email somewhere. So I will entertain a motion to accept, let's do Garrison because that one's complete. The Garrison Ambulance contract for the next 5 years. It's retroactive basically from January 1. So 2022 for a 5-year period. Could I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, that's Garrison. And then the same for Philipstown. We're very appreciative of our volunteer ambulance corps and all the work that they do in town here. The Philipstown one will be conditional, on them providing us with a fee schedule that's adopted by the town. So and it's in the works, I'm sure. He told me the fees did not change from the last one, so it'll be the same thing. So, can I get a motion on Philipstown ambulance?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that's unanimous. That's done. Thank you very much.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the HVAC Maintenance Agreement with the Air Professional Associates LLC beginning June 1st of 2022 till May 31st of 2023.
So our new building came along with 12 new mini-split air conditioning heating systems, as well as we utilized the existing, I think it's a 5-ton compressor and air handler that were installed here in 2010, or, no, I'm sorry, 2016. So the system was up and working from the day the HVAC contractor turned it over to us. Now it's, there's issues. Stuff was off all winter, so coming back on. John's tired of getting the call that the air conditioning's not working, and not the matter that I don't have any idea of how to fix it, but I come up and try to fiddle with it. But it needs constant maintenance, so not constant work, but maintenance. It needs to be maintained properly. So I called every local HVAC contractor to try to get a local individual to do it. None of them either returned a call or ever produced a proposal. This company is Air Professional Associates. It came from Joe Curto, who works in Westchester, and I appreciate Joe's help with this. The guy came and fixed the one unit which was not working. We had court. It was, what was the temperature up here, Kelly? Like 80-something. He was here at 5 o'clock on a Friday night working on a system, and he did get it working before we had a contract with him. So he seems very responsive. Ed, great guy. So can I get a resolution supporting? Sure.
One question.
Yeah.
I see that there's a fee here for the oil burn, right?
Yes, he
Okay.
suggested we stick with whoever provides us with oil. So I would say we.
Because right now, I went to Downey to ask for a maintenance contract.
Yeah.
He's supposed to have something for me any day, so.
I would suggest we stay with just the air
Yeah,
conditioning set.
that's- okay.
And the boiler will have service locally. He said he could do it, but you're better off using the
All right,
person
but
who
I did go
provides
to
you.
Downey, who does, call him now, so.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to get
he
a
came during
price. Okay,
construction.
So I just wanted to clarify
Yeah, so
that.
just the $2,700. So, okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
The next is a resolution approving the length of service award program submission from Philipstown Volunteer Ambulance Corp for 2021 and authorizing the supervisor to sign all necessary paperwork associated with such.
Okay, so this is our retirement length of service award program. It has been posted already for the 30 days at PVAC. It looks like there was 3 people that made the points. They need a minimum of 50 points. There was 3 of them that are entitled this year, so. I will take a motion to accept the LoSAP program from Philipstown Ambulance.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, that's that one.
Next,
Flying, Cal.
next is a resolution accepting resignation from Krystal Ford as Climate Smart Coordinator and a member of the Conservation Board effective July 29th, 2022.
And Gardner. We forgot to put Gardner on there. You didn't put that in here. So Krystal, like I said earlier, it's bittersweet to see you leave. Obviously, you've done so much for the town, kept us ahead of all the grant process, got us going towards our next achievement, which would be what would be our next level that we're looking for? Silver. That's a big one. That's a big one. But we're off to a good start. We opened up, we had the ribbon cutting of our EV station outside for our electric cars, which is perfect timing with the cost of fuel right now. It couldn't be better. There'll be a line out there, I'm sure, at some point. But we really appreciate all you've done, and I know you've got some fun stuff ahead of you, and you'll be back. But and you got to get the garden going again next year. So it looks wonderful out there. Everything is fantastic. We appreciate it. You think you have some replacements in line? All right, so we'll talk this week and we'll get that. You're on until the end of July.
Yeah, and I'll be kind of around back and forth in August, and then September, the kids will start school.
Okay, great. Okay, so,
Around but not
all right.
We're
Sure, absolutely.
I just wanted to say, so Krystal worked with many projects on Krystal. I was angry when I heard that she was leaving. I'm sure all of us.
What?
Yeah, I was angry to upset, but but only because I know that working on climate change can be a very frustrating, very depressing area to work in, and you bring to it both energy and optimism, which I think is the most important thing to bring to that sort of work. And not only have you done it for the town, you do it in your own life, you care about it. I think you'll bring it to any community you go to, and you really have done so many things across the community that would not have got done. And people sitting at home or who feel hopeless about it, the fact is that one person who is invested in it and mobilize other people can get a lot of stuff done. So thank you so much for all you've done personally.
Yeah, I can echo that too. Thank you, Krystal. Again, as I said earlier tonight, your enthusiasm is a great thing. So don't lose that attribute that you have. That goes a long way. Thank you.
Good luck, Krystal.
Thank you. I mean, you've just been an inspiration, and I wish you all the best. And hope you'll come back.
You're like a role model for being climate smart. Your electric car, it's incredible. It's wonderful. So, all right. So we will regretfully need a motion to accept Krystal's resignation from both Climate Smart and the Conservation Board. So we'll have to advertise both positions, Kelly. All right. Can I get a motion on that?
Regrettably so. I'll make the resolution.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you again, Krystal.
The next is the resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for the open position of Climate Smart Coordinator and the Conservation Board.
There you go.
All right. That was the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all set. So next up is seven,
Yeah.
number 7, resolution.
Authorizing the purchase of the 2022 Miller Curber MC550 for the Highway Department in the amount of $10,600 through Hoffman Equipment, and that's a roll call vote.
Okay, so this is something that was approved in the budget last year for the Highway Department. We did table this last month because I didn't think we were doing any more curb work for paving, but I did speak with Adam. He has a lot of work for it to do, and it will save us by doing it ourselves. So, and this piece of equipment will last a while and provide us service for years to come. So I will support the purchase of the curbing machine. I believe it goes on the skid steer.
Yeah.
It mounts on the skid steer, one of the skid steers. So can I get a motion supporting the purchase of a curbing machine for the amount of $10,600?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
The next is a resolution supporting the proposed statute that would amend the general municipal law, the civil service law, the retirement and social security law, and the public health law in relation to emergency medical services. And this is a roll call vote.
So we had a workshop on this the other night. Kenny Barton came in and made a presentation, and he basically makes EMS a mandatory service for your community. From what I understand, this is not going to pass the state Senate. It's going to be dead on arrival, but I still think it's important for us to make the point that we do support it. We have been doing it for as long as I've been on the board. We've been supporting both ambulance corps financially to make sure that the product on the street is acceptable. And that is with coordination with the volunteers as well as the paid staff that do man the streets. And this really will help us because, again, our emergency services, our ambulances especially, are being utilized by our surrounding communities, and it's not fair. We are part of a mutual aid plan, but the mutual aid plan should be reciprocal. The fact that we have paid staff 24/7 at both of our ambulances make our ambulances very enticing for the neighboring communities to utilize. So if there were a statewide mandate, I think it would even the playing field and make all of the communities do this and make sure that they're able to get a volunteer ambulance or a paid ambulance on the street when you need it. I'm not in favor of our ambulances covering other communities. If there's a mutual aid request and, you know, they're out on something else, I understand that. If there's a mass casualty incident and they need support, more than happy to provide it. But for them to be dependent on it is upsetting to me. So if we even the playing field and made it mandated statewide, I think it would go a long way for supporting our community and the taxpayers that are paying for this service here in Philipstown. So I certainly support the resolution and the bill, and we'll send it on if we approve it, and hopefully it'll make a difference next year when they do the budget system. So, anybody else? Yeah, anybody else
I
want to?
support the recognition of our emergency service workers as essential services. And I think that this provides them also with access to benefits that they don't currently have, and equitable wages. So I think it's important to recognize that in relation to other emergency responders.
Absolutely. Anybody else? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to support the bill, the proposed statute that would amend the general municipal law, the civil service law, the retirement and social security law, and public health law in relation to emergency medical services. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel.
I vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you all.
John, was that last? Is
Yeah,
that
that-
number 7?
Yeah, that was a roll call.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
so-
we got to go
yeah.
back to that. I just realized that. Oh, no, 8, right?
8.
The purchase of the highway equipment. So we did pass this, but we need to do a roll call vote. Okay, Councilwoman Farrell,
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Angel,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Thank you, Jason. Okay, Danielle is not here, so that comes off, but we did have that from David and our new coordinator. So scheduling workshops. I did get a request from Cindy Trimble. They're interested, there's some community interest in putting the similar signs, I don't know if you've been through Hopewell or Fishkill with the, who is it? Beacon, in memory of soldiers on Memorial Day. I think it's beautiful.
Is that the local veterans
The local veterans banner, and they hang them through town.
A lot of them has a picture.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm not sure, you know, what our plan is, where it would be, if it's in the village. But she wants to start with a workshop. This woman, Gail Silky, who's on the list here, is the person who sells them or provides them for Beacon. Obviously, it's not for this Memorial Day, but we're planning for next year for Memorial Day, so it'll be up and operational by then. So we'll, if it's all right, you guys, June 15th looks like a decent date for you guys. We can meet. No, okay, Meg's making a face over it.
I'm coming my softball slide.
Okay, so is everybody else good for June 15th? So we'll,
At what time?
7:30 work? Or
Yeah, 7:30 great.
7:30. So we'll, I'll contact them, and what I should probably do, I'll contact the village of Nelsonville and Cold Spring, because I'm sure it's gonna be more of a village event than it's gonna be a town event, but at least we can get the ball rolling. We have nearly a year to get it taken care of, so, but I thought that was a great thing, so. Anything else, any other workshops you can think of? No, it's all right, good, all right. Code enforcement monthly report. That's you, Cal.
I'm up again. For May of 2022, fees collected $35,788.60. Total number of permits issued 34. New 1 or 2 family dwellings 1. Additional alterations and repairs residential buildings 7. All other permits, pool, sheds, decks, plumbing, and HVAC 26. Number of COs 24. Number of stop orders issued 2, and inspection of public assembly 2. And Greg says, please take the time to check your pools for safety compliance.
so important. Every year there is tragedies that happen in pools, especially when they first get opened in June. So please take a look at your pool and make sure you're compliant.
Just getting back to the building department here, I spoke to the person that was supposed to take this position, and he's kind of still on the fence here, so. John, his name was anyway, he was all enthused anyway. I called him again yesterday, he hasn't returned my phone call. Greg had another person.
Somebody dropped a resume on
Yeah,
my truck
that
outside.
was, right, that was it, but now that person, I guess he's had second thoughts, he doesn't want to do it either, so I'm waiting to call back for this guy, John McNeil, his name was, to see if he's gonna come or not, we're gonna move on, but I'm waiting to hear from him.
Okay,
Because
thank
he definitely needs the help. I mean, the fire inspections are getting behind.
Greg's got his hands full.
Yeah.
And plus, it's a busy construction market. so.
Lots going on.
Okay, that's it for that. Any other business? Anybody from the public audience? That's you.
I'm just happy to see you guys.
Same here, Nat. We're always happy to see you.
Well, you know what, we'll probably get this comprehensive plan committee back together. I'm gonna take it that you all didn't have any suggestion, nobody popped up saying, I want to be on this committee. I mean, we have enough people to keep it going. We'll call it the comprehensive plan committee rather than the comprehensive plan update committee, because that part's over. Keep the pulse. But I think what you guys, that clearly the idea of looking again at the zoning code to make sure that it's not out of line. I mean, that's very prominent in the comprehensive plan. So any efforts that you all make to have a look at what we can learn from our first test case of the conservation subdivision is definitely called for in the plan. But we'll get going with the eye of perhaps in the fall serving you up the 2 or 3 things that we think actually should be the highest priorities on that list, so that it doesn't just get forgot about. It's on the website now, and we have a little money left all over for our consultant. So we're going to actually have a few bound copies that we'll put around at the library, so somebody could borrow it and put it back. And if anybody knows anybody who's willing to translate it into Spanish, we could probably do that too. But
I think Google can
Put it in one side and it comes right out there.
That's a good way
read
to
it out,
try.
and then it will come out in Spanish.
I'm going to take it that you all are happy enough for this committee to meet and go back through the plan and try to serve up to you the 3, 4, 5, 2 items that we think make the most sense to do some focusing on, or at least give you the support you need to pursue something you're already pursuing.
Absolutely. Well, Route 9 would be the thing. I mean, you mentioned.
What's that? I'm sorry, Steve.
Route 9 would be the thing. I mean, you say the conservation subdivision, I suppose to some extent you might want to look at that. But, I mean, if the town board decides to go forward with getting a planning report, I would think it's the kind of thing that they would refer to the standing committee to take a look at. Because if they decide to make changes to the zoning, they're going to have to update change the comprehensive plan. So, I mean, they would definitely want input on that, I would think.
It certainly says 9 is 9, and can't do anything about it, let's make it look better.
We relied so much on the comp plan in 2009 when the zoning changed. It was amazing at how much that really, being on the board and being challenged and everything, you're like, here it is. This is what the community wants.
We just need to keep it alive and keep it in front of you and make sure that if there's some things that we should focus on, we've got a group that can do it and help you do it.
Thank you. Sounds good. Thank you, Nat, as always.
We also have the food scraps. Did you want to give an update, Jason?
Judy, you go.
Oh, okay, I think we're up to close to 60 kits, I think pretty close, which is great. The Volunteer Advisory Committee, and thanks to Karen Urkel and Eric Brown, and we also had Ryan up at the town dump, who's been doing an amazing job helping people with the food scraps. So the kits are still available, and they're $20. Come get them. It's a wonderful way to help contribute to reducing carbon emissions and also to just not having all that garbage in landfills. So help
It's,
Every bit
like I
helps.
said, it's opened my eyes tremendously once you start participating in it. Your garbage consumption gets cut in half, and then you're using the food scraps for a good cause, so.
I need to open my children's eyes to what should be thrown out.
Anyway, so we encourage everybody, this is a pilot program for 6 months. If we don't have enough participation in this program, it's gonna stop. So just want everyone to know that you have to keep it going. 200 kits we have, a little over 220 or something like that. So we need that, pretty close to that amount. Jason or Mrs. May know the exact, it's a seed, it's up there.
I know we were planning for 200 for the pilot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, about, what, 50?
Maybe
Yeah.
we should contact both villages, and maybe we could solicit some of it to the villages.
Because I'm
Well,
going to present at Nelsonville.
They were
Village
supposed,
meeting
yeah.
in June.
They were supposed to have, Karen has been trying to get on the village's agenda, and she, for some reason, it's not getting on, for some
I think
reason.
she is, I mean.
Well, maybe she's coming up. I'll be
Yeah.
at the meeting this week, maybe she's on the agenda.
And then June
Hopefully
20th, Nelsonville invited me to speak at their meeting about it, so.
If they could send out an email, if the village could send out, the contact.
And even
that'd be
Haldane, we could probably do something through the
Yeah.
school as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Who was the liaison to Haldane? Is that you, Megan?
It is.
Do you want to contact Haldane and see if they'd be
I'd be
interested?
happy to.
See if they can advertise it?
Yeah.
Send
See
out
what
the,
they say.
Send out an
they
email
have a
blast.
huge email list.
Yeah.
Yep.
John, can I ask one question before we break? So,
Nope, sorry.
I know, I know at the last workshop, we had Jewel here from the CCA.
Yes.
And I know we all said we weren't gonna, it wasn't important enough to dial Steve at the Eiffel Tower, enjoying croissants and whatever. I've really been working on that French pronunciation. And I remember you made the comment, so the Jewel was letting us know that the CCA, the CCA electricity supplier is trying to potentially break their contract and throw off the 25,000 CCA customers from the CCA electricity supply, and then that could potentially happen in June. We're in June, and so they were asking if, the municipalities would join something, and I wanted to ask, and I know there were some concerns, rightfully.
Right before you left, you said the resolution was too open for us to endorse, so, and I apologize, I didn't get back to you this week to.
Oh, it's no problem at all, John. If the town wishes to join in the litigation, you need two agreements. They can be in a single document, but you need two agreements in place. And the first agreement is going to be between the town and the attorneys who are representing you in this. You need to know, are you going to be billed hourly? Are they taking out a contingency? What's the arrangement as far as fronting costs? These things need to be hashed out. It doesn't have to be a terribly complicated agreement, but you need to know before you agree to join in litigation what your obligations financially are in regard to it and what your expectations are as far as recovery. And the other agreement needs to be between the town and whatever other party plaintiffs there are in this proposed litigation. If there are going to be legal fees due, if there are going to be costs for the litigation, how are you divvying them up? Right. If you decide that you want to drop out of the litigation, are you free to do that? And everybody else can go on or not? Once you're in, are you obligated to continue to pay? What if other people want to drop out and you want to continue? What's your relationship with it? So again, it doesn't have to be a terribly complicated agreement, but there's a couple issues that need to be spelled out, and it'll need to be, two agreements, one between the attorneys and you, or one between the attorneys and everybody, and one between you, the town, and everyone else. I don't know where you stand as far as getting those agreements, so.
Do you want to handle coordinating Steve's concerns with Jewel? I'm sure their legal counsel will be in touch, and you can coordinate, just keep me obviously in the loop with the thing, because that would be a relief for me if you could take that.
Okay. Sure. So I will do that, and I'll report back, and I guess I would just put forward that I personally, as long as the town is protected in the ways you're mentioning, I fully support it, because, we have 2 years left on that CCA electricity supply contract. It's already saved Philipstown residents hundreds of dollars. It's 100% renewable instead of 80% fossil fuel based. So those 2 years could save Philipstown residents thousands of dollars. So,
I agree with you 100%. The timing is perfect to stay away from fossil fuels, obviously.
On that contract.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I'd just like to mention, it was nice to see the Memorial Day Parade back in our community after 2 years of hiatus. With the pandemic, we couldn't have it, so it was very nice to see that. A little disappointed that people didn't show up to get free hot dogs, though. There was hardly anybody that showed up, so we had a lot of wasted hot dogs, unfortunately. Anyway, that's the way things go, so hopefully next year it'll be back and
Well, and the VFW worked so hard to put that together, and Bobby and I participated along with Legislator Montgomery and Mayor Foley from the Village of Cold Spring, along with several other volunteers, putting all the flags in at the
Yes.
Cold Spring Cemetery, which is an interesting process, but they need, and I'm gonna ask for this, but they need help with somebody with the skill to plot that cemetery. It's an enormous task to put all these flags out. I don't know how many hundred flags
they
there
said
are.
there was close to 1,000.
So there's a lot of walking around like, oh, there it is. If somebody, if an Eagle Scout or something could take this on as a project and plot it, so you could just go street by street and know exactly where these flags need to go. It would be wonderful. If anybody out there has these skills and is interested in helping the VFW and the deceased veterans of the town of Philipstown that are in the Cold Spring Cemetery, and there is a lot. I mean, it took
They
hours.
said 1,000 flags or so, but I'd like to say also too, we had a lot of help this year. Last year, we had only a handful. There was a lot of people that showed up. Yeah, this past year, we had a lot of people, and then we were done in 2 hours. So which was great, so it's a
So
good thing
they
to
do
see.
a great job. Tom Kibble and the VFW.
They are getting better though, they had maps of the cemetery
but there's
and
still a lot of
everything,
missing
but still, they're getting better as time goes on.
They are.
One more thing I'd like to bring up too is, there's a local blood drive on the 15th of June here, and it's at North Highlands Firehouse. The blood supply is very, very low. They're down to like a 2 to 3 day supply. So I encourage anyone who hasn't given blood, maybe try for your first time to do it. I plan on going there. I mean, I'm up to 100 pints now since in my lifetime. So anyway, I just encourage people to give blood when they can.
All right, that's it. We'll move on to the vouchers. We're gonna have vacancies
Yes,
too,
we
right?
have one.
Conservation. So we'll have to advertise that. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second. I'm seconding.
Second. Aye. Good night, Nat. Thank you.